top researchers are now warning of a, quote, mega tsunami that could hit the West Coast. Places like Northern California, Oregon, and Washington are now being issued warnings. We are also seeing new earthquakes hit, new volcanic eruptions happening, and also new evacuation orders being issued in multiple different states and areas like California and Idaho. So let's get into all the details here. All right, let's get into this mega tsunami warning that was issued first. You can see here, quote, mega tsunami warning issued as the Cascadia earthquake could impact millions in the U.S., and they are warning that evacuation plans are needed. This is from a research study that was done out of Virginia Tech University, and they are concerned that the Cascadia Subduction Zone is going to have a major pressure release in the form of an earthquake. And sorry if you hear some rain in the background, there's a storm moving through right now. It says here, a significant earthquake in the Cascadia Subduction Zone could cause a potentially devastating mega tsunami to hit portions of the U.S. Pacific coast, according to scientists. It says this fault line runs 600 miles from Northern California to Vancouver Island and is where the Juan de Fuca plates slide beneath the North American plate, accumulating enormous tectonic stress. And it says within the next 50 years, there's a 15% risk of an earthquake of a magnitude 8 or higher happening along the Cascadia Subduction Zone, according to Virginia Tech researchers led by geoscientist Tina Dura. All right, so they're saying 15% chance of a megaquake and a mega tsunami hitting. And what they're really worried about happening during this earthquake event is there's going to be a collapsing of the coastal plains. Okay, so they're worried that there's going to be a massive drop along coastal areas of Washington, Oregon, and Northern California. And this is going to cause a massive influx of storm surge, essentially, ocean surge from this tsunami. All right, so they think there's going to be a big drop. That's going to cause a displacement, and then that water is going to rush in. All right, and they are anticipating potentially 1,000-foot waves. I don't even know if that's possible, honestly. I'm just being honest here, but they are saying in coordination with the water displacement from the earthquake and the subduction zones, but also the dropping of the coastal areas. All right, so they're saying potentially with the new sea level could be up to 1,000 feet of water rushing in. All right, pretty wild what they're anticipating here, but they're saying it could happen within the next 50 years. It says the Cascadia Subduction Zone, as per the Virginia Tech research team, is one of the most dangerous fault lines in North America. And they're warning here that they need better evacuation plans for this area, and they need better flood risk plans as well too, because most people, they're saying, are not going to be living in a flood zone currently, but with the shifts, dramatic changes in the earth, there could be entire areas that are now flood zones that were not anticipated. It says here that it could destroy over 170,000 buildings, 30,000 lives, and over $81 billion in economic losses could occur. It says here the northern parts of Oregon, southern Washington, and northern California are most at risk, and also Alaska and Hawaii, of course, are at risk for tsunamis. All right, so just something to think about. Researchers are looking into this subduction zone here, and you can see it's actually relatively active. All right, we have a lot of earthquake activity over here. We have 2.9, 2.6, a 2.4, and a 2.3, all right here near the Cascadia Subduction Zone. All right, this fault line here is the one you're seeing over here on the west coast of, you can see it says Cascadia Fold and Thrust Belt. This whole region right here, outside from Northern California going up into Vancouver, British Columbia, is the Cascadia Subduction Zone. So this is what they're worried about. And you can see how many small fault lines are actually along this area too. So a very active area, and we could see something happen there, right? We saw what happened in Russia, and we don't know which place is going to be next. We're lucky that didn't happen in a densely populated area in the US or somewhere else. You can see also Alaska is very active right now. Dozens and dozens of earthquakes hitting Alaska, and I think these are aftershocks and tremors of this 8.8 that hit the Kamchatka Peninsula in Russia. You can see here they're still having massive aftershocks. And actually, while we're over here, the Kuchepsky Volcano is actually re-erupting. Okay, so it spewed ash up to 8 kilometers high, which is around 24,000, 25,000 feet into the air. And it is re-erupting. Okay, so it keeps erupting. It's become very active. It was already an active volcano, but now it has become overly active and is erupting, constantly releasing pressure, which is a good thing that it's releasing pressure without, damaging effects, catastrophic issues happening in coordination with it. But it's also a major warning sign that there is a lot of pressure right now, geologically and geothermally, underneath the earth, and it's bubbling up. It's trying to make its way to the surface and release any way it can. All right, and so that's why we're seeing this is the same one. There's actually 7 volcanoes in Russia right now that are erupting concurrently over the past couple weeks. Okay, so we're also having go now evacuation orders in places like California and Idaho. Okay, we will get into more earthquakes in just a second, because there was a big one that actually hit Australia. But you can see here, right outside of Santa Maria, California, there's a pretty big fire, the King Fire, and it has caused evacuation warnings. You can see when I take away this overlap here, this layer, and then when I put it back on, you can see all of the yellow areas are warnings and all the red areas are go now evacuations. They've been listed for multiple areas. All right, that was actually the Gford Fire. Sorry about that. I didn't mean the King Fire. The King Fire was a different fire, but the Gford Fire was the one that we're looking at here. It's 132,000 acres cumulatively that is burned, and you can see here the evacuation outlines. So red, go now; yellow, you're under warning and could have to leave at any moment. Also, we are getting evacuation orders for Idaho as well too. All right, you can see here it says evacuations expanded as Sunset Fire grows to 2,702 acres northeast of Ethel, Idaho. And it says here, Level 3 go now evacuations have been issued for all residences east of the East Duford Road on Talachi Road, to include all side streets. All right, and it says here evacuations have been expanding. Level 3 evacuation go orders are in place for Butler Creek Spur, Mirror Lake, 5 Lake Estates, Jupling Landing, right, and also the entire Ponderosa neighborhood. So lots of evacuations being ordered around the country, and these ones are due to these massive fires that are spreading, right? You can see here's the Gford Fire, the one we were just talking about, and a smoke area has been declared in Southern California. The air quality levels aren't looking too bad today across the country. You can see most of the country is in green, but we have this belt of smoke moving, it looks like, over from Idaho. So you can see here this fire in Idaho. There's multiple ones. The Island Creek Fire. The Big Bear Fire is 15,000 acres. Meyer Fire. Rush Fire, 7,000 acres. We have this other fire here. The Rock Fire, 2,329 acres. All right, so lots of fires popping up in Idaho, and it looks like the smoke is making its way through Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, and then over to the Midwestern states and all the way down to the Gulf. All right, so air quality alerts are going out in places like even Mississippi. All right, and we are seeing some fires even pop up down in Texas and the South. All right, so just be prepared. Have an evacuation route for these fires. They can pop up anywhere near you. All right, Colorado is also experiencing multiple fires right now. Air quality has been pretty poor in this part of the country, but thankfully today it has been clear skies. All right, and you can see green across the board, and it has been clear. 7,000 acre fire, the Stoner Mesa Fire, also the Elkhorn Fire down near Pagosa Springs. The Turner Gulch Fire is 31,000 acres, and this other fire over here right next to it, the Wright Draw Fire. All right, so lots of fires throughout the country, and just do your part to not help these things spread and to be prepared if anything does happen. Right, we're also seeing them evacuate even fish. All right, you can see here they're evacuating endangered and native trout species in Colorado. You can see here wildlife officials evacuate hundreds of fish out of Colorado's wildfire path. This was in the San Juan National Forest, and these are the cutthroat trout that are native to Colorado, and we're actually extinct or on the verge of extinction, but there's been a big program to really populate all the rivers and streams with these different cutthroat trout. There's actually a couple different ones. There's like the greenback cutthroat. This one's the gray cutthroat trout that they are getting out of there. All right, this is down near the Gunnison River, and you can see here some of the trout. So even the fish are being evacuated. You can see they're searching for them with nets. That's actually kind of a decent way to catch them. Not as fun as fishing, as fly fishing or anything, but in these creeks, if you're really desperate to catch a little fish, you could actually probably just scoop them up with a net. I'm always seeing these little trout out here in these creeks. So even the fish are evacuating, so just be prepared. Take this serious. All right. Also, there's earthquakes that have hit Australia. All right, I want to show this here to you guys. We had a 4.9 right outside of Brisbane, Australia. We also had a 5.6 right outside of New Zealand, and a 4.6 in the Fiji Islands right outside of New Zealand as well too. So it's a place where we had a 5.8 happen there too. This is right where we had another 5, maybe it was a 6 that happened just last week in Indonesia. And then we also saw a volcanic eruption in Indonesia as well too, over on this island. So lots of activity happening. We're seeing re-eruptions of volcanoes in Russia, and we're seeing earthquakes all along the rim, Pacific Rim, and the Ring of Fire. You can see here some earthquakes down in Chile, 4.1, another 4.1, and a 4.3. We also had a 3.1 in Hawaii hit. All right, so Hawaii is having the Kilauea volcano is currently erupting. It's in its 30th eruption phase, and it's been erupting on and off the past few weeks since this big megaquake hit in Russia. It seemed to reactivate its eruption cycle and has been very active on and off since then. All right, you can even see here we're getting some earthquake activity down in Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador. You can see a 4.2 in El Salvador, a 4.4 in Guatemala, and a 2.7 in Puerto Rico as well. So lots of activity. It's showing over 166 earthquakes in the past 24 hours just on record that have been registered, and there's probably been a lot more that are smaller that have not been registered, and some that they've even missed. All right, I made a whole report how they missed thousands of earthquakes that were beneath Yellowstone. All right, so there definitely are gaps in the information. A 4.9 also hit outside of Africa here, and we are seeing some internally inside the United States as well too, in places like Texas. All right, I'm trying to zoom in here. You can see here a 1.5 hit New Mexico, a 1.4 hit New Mexico, a 2.7 hit Texas. A couple of them hit Texas over here near Midland. A 2.0 hit Stanton, Texas. A 1.1, another 1.2, 1.4, and is this two 2.7s here? A 0.08 as well. So, and a 2.5 in Garden City, Texas. So even Texas gets earthquakes. So just make sure you're prepared. It can happen anywhere. Nobody knows what the future holds in this sense. It's something that we can, think about and try to predict and try to run scenarios and simulations in our head and even in computer models. That's what they're doing here with these Virginia Tech researchers that are warning of this, quote, mega tsunami that could hit. But even they don't know, right? They're saying there's a 15% chance in the next 50 years. It could be a 1% chance in the next 100 years. Who knows? Or it could be a 20% chance in the next 10 years. All right, they could be off. They don't know exactly. I'm sure they are also trying to be relatively conservative with their numbers and not try to, really pump them up, right? Because that's something that most of the time these research papers will do. All right, they'll be a little more on the conservative side with their estimates. So we don't really know. And nobody has the cards. Even if there's a 90% chance it happens tomorrow, there's still a 10% chance it doesn't, and that could go on for who knows how long. All right, we really just don't have a clear-cut answer on things like this, and that's why it's also so interesting, because who knows? We really don't know, and everyone can feel it too, right? It seems like we are entering into this phase of increased activity, increased solar activity. The sun is in its grand solar maximum phase right now. Also increased geological activity, increased geothermal activity, increased volcanic activity. There's a lot increased weather activity, flooding activity. There's also a Category 5 right now forming in the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, this is, quote, Hurricane Erin, and it is on pace to be a Category 5 hurricane. You can see here the tracking for it, and it's anticipated to make this turn more northeasterly and kind of avoid the United States. The reasoning for this is because there is a front that is essentially pushing it outwards, that is going through places like, it's kind of cutting across the country. So imagine like a line cutting from Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, West Virginia, Virginia, cutting all the way out to the ocean. So there's like a line there, there's a front there that is essentially pushing it outwardly towards the east, right? So that's why they are betting, that's why the models are all saying that this is most likely going to make its way out to the ocean and then dissipate. But you can also see how far spaced away these predictions are. So you can see Tuesday, all right, so you can see these, Saturday to Tuesday, the M's, which means major hurricane, and it's predicted to be a Category 5 if it's not already. It's kind of fluctuating right now on that verge of a Category 5. and 4. It's strengthening right now as it moves into the warm Caribbean waterways. But you can kind of see how the M's are pretty close together from Saturday to Tuesday. But once it's Wednesday and Thursday, the cone gets a lot wider and the M's are a lot more spread out. So that's the main, field of unpredictability is after Tuesday, essentially. So they kind of know where it's going, into Monday night, Tuesday morning, and then once it's Tuesday, they're still, so probably by tomorrow we will have more information on Sunday. But this thing is picking up speed. It's moving into much warmer waters, which is needed for hurricane formation, and the eye wall is already forming. Okay, they are having the quote hurricane hunters fly into the eye of the storm right now. So it's most likely not going to hit the United States, and especially not go up in to the mainland, but it could brush up against these coastal areas and potentially cause some type of flooding. All right, it could be pushing water up coastally into certain states. So if you're along the East Coast, along the Atlantic, especially in places like South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, maybe even southern Georgia, just have your stuff together, have your preps together, just in case. All right, because you don't want to be sitting there stuck in the dark, no food, no power, because you weren't prepared and you ignored the storm. So just be alert, be prepared, be ready, be stocked up, just in case. There's also been wildfires in New Brunswick. All right, I wanted to report on this too. I meant to hit this earlier. It says here 36 wildfires burning in New Brunswick. 7 are out of control. And I really don't understand, why are these fires spreading so crazy? This is in Canada. You can see here 7 fires at Oldfield Road, the Chiefs Fire, the Level Lake Fire, Beaver Lake Stream, Bear Landing, Antinori Lake, and the Moose Brook 2 are all, quote, out of control right now. All right, so, and they're saying here that evacuations are being issued, and this is what people should have in their 72-hour evacuation kit, their bug out kit, essentially. All right, you can see here, this is what authorities are warning of in Canada to have. They're saying water, food, flashlight, radio, batteries, first aid, masks for smoke filtration, prescription medications, and pet foods. And they're saying here wildfires can move quickly and not everyone may be able to get information or leave safely on their own. During an evacuation, take a moment to check on those around you. All right, so this is something I have. I just have like a camping backpack that's filled with all the stuff I need to just go, like, bushcraft camping, essentially. It has axe, it has a saw, it has fire starters, matches, water filters, phone cords, some food in it. I'm trying to think of everything I put in there. There's so many like little things I've just put in there. Bug spray, paracord, a emergency blanket, nylon or mylar blanket. Just a lot of these things that you use when you're, camping out in the woods. If you're just going out in the woods and camping, have a backpack just filled with stuff like that. And it's just a good idea to have in case you need to leave quickly. You can grab this pack and be ready to go. All right, at least it has a radio in it. It has a flashlight / radio, crank radio, so it's a flashlight and a radio combined, and you just crank it up for power. You can recharge it too. I'm trying to just think of all the little things that are in there. A shovel, a little camping shovel, fold-up shovel for digging. It's a lot more helpful than you realize when you're out there and you're trying to like build a shelter or trying to even just go to the bathroom. Right, having a shovel is critical. So just have some things to rough it, all right? If you need to for a while, you need to get out of there and need to get out of there quick. Have some type of like go bag, a first aid kit in there. I'm just trying to think of more things that are coming off the top of my head. Pet food is definitely a good one too, because a lot of times it's something you just don't think about. You think of the pets, but you don't think of their food, especially when you're trying to leave quickly. And definitely bring your pets with you. I've seen stories year after year, right? I've been reporting on this stuff for years, and every year there's a story of people leaving their pets behind, right? And these fires or some type of evacuation, hurricanes. Last year, people were letting their horses go. There was a horse ranch that let out about a dozen horses during these fires because they couldn't get them all loaded up in time. Probably didn't even have enough trailers to load up every horse at once, and cars and everything, and just let them out. And they were running down the road. People were recording it during the evacuations. And even last year, somebody left their dog tied up during the hurricane down in Florida. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was Helene when it went through Florida. It might have been a different one, but somebody left their dog tied up outside in the rain and the flood, and it was swimming around the flood. So just don't do that. Bring your animals, bring your dogs, bring your pets, just in case, all right? Because you don't want to leave them there and then they get caught in a fire, caught in a flood, and they can't get out. So they're also asking people to implement water restrictions here as well too. It says avoid washing vehicles or your lawn. I mean, you think they would want people watering the lawn to keep it nice and moist so the fire doesn't spread, but maybe certain areas they don't want you to do it. Take short showers, repair plumbing leaks. They're warning of air quality alerts. Could be bad for infants, pregnant women, children, older adults, people with chronic lung and heart diseases. So stay prepared, guys. Stay stocked up. I hope you guys have big blessings for your life, your family, and I hope you have a big old blessed day.